Hi, my name is Joanne from 123stitch.com. Have you ever stitched a project, you're way into it, you've done a whole bunch of stitches, and then you get to a point where things don't line up like they're supposed to? You realize that you made a mistake way back at the beginning. You were off by a line, you were off by a stitch, and now things don't line up. It's really easy to do. There's so much counting involved in cross stitch. You have to count the squares on your chart. You have to count the threads on your fabric. You have to check, you have to recheck. It's easy to make a mistake. We've all done it. Whether you're a brand new stitcher or you've been stitching for a long time, today I want to share with you 4 tips to make counting just a little bit easier. They may be things you do all the time from now on, or things that you can just try when you need a little extra help. Before we get started though, please go down below and click on that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And the products I mentioned today will also be listed in the description. Cross stitch patterns are always a nice little chart like this with squares. Each square is a stitch, and they're divided in blocks of 10. So it'll be 10 stitches this way, 10 stitches this way, and they're divided with these thicker horizontal and vertical lines so you can easily see where you're at on the chart. And if you want to keep track of what line you're on, you can use something like a line minder. But when it comes to the fabric, it's a blank piece of fabric. How do we keep track of where we're at? The first way, the way that I generally recommend, especially to beginners, is pre-gridded fabric. This is Easy Count fabric by Zweigart. It has the lines already drawn on the fabric with blocks of 10 marked out just like your pattern. So now it's easy to know exactly what's in this square is going to equal what's in this square. So it's really easy to follow this way. This is excellent not only for beginners, but it's good if you're working on a big project and you're worried about losing your count. It's good for full coverage patterns where no fabric's showing through. A lot of times those are worked block by block anyway, so to have this fabric already marked out for you, game changer. Super easy this way. Now when you're done stitching, you soak the fabric in some warm water for about an hour to make those lines go away. So a couple of downsides to this fabric. The first one is you're soaking it in water for an hour. So you want to make sure that your thread is color fast. So you're going to use DMC floss most likely, or if you're using another thread, make sure that it is color fast. Try it out first before you soak it in water for an hour and risk it running. The other downside is that it's only available in limited fabrics. So it's available in Aida in different counts and a Lugana. And primarily, you can only get it in white. We do have a 14 count in ivory or cream, but that's it. Otherwise, it's just white. So nice way to start out stitching or for those bigger projects that don't have color fast thread. The second method that you can use is to mark the fabric yourself. And you can do that by using some sort of marking pen. You can use water soluble, air water soluble, heat erasable, whichever one you use. Try it out on your fabric first on a small spot, see if it actually comes out. Be really careful with this. You want to make sure it does come out when you're done. So to do this, we just take our pen. I'm going to be using my Snag Nabbit here to help me count. I find this useful on even weave high count fabric where it's got these little tiny squares and it's harder to keep count. So I'm going to mark my start, and of course you would be following the chart to figure out where your start is, and then you can just count up. In this case, because I am on a fabric that I'm going to stitch over 2, I'm counting twice as many, so I'm counting up 20. And I'm just guessing here instead of counting because I did lose count. So we would mark your spot at the intersection, and then you would count over and mark the intersection at 10 again, and so forth. And you can just mark intersections, you can draw lines, you can do whatever helps you. And you can also do this if you want to just do a small section of the fabric. You don't have to do the whole thing. But if you're good here, but then you've got a section over here that's a little tricky, just use your marking pen. So that's way number 2. The downside to this one again is If you are using a water-soluble marker, make sure your fabric's color fast, make sure your threads are color fast because you will be putting water on it. So really double check those things. If you're not sure, then don't use a marking pen. Which brings me to method number 3. Method number 3 is this easy count guideline. This stuff is fantastic. It's like this nylon thread. I think people say it's like fishing line, but it's really nice, and it comes in this nice little spool where it doesn't unwind. You just pull out a piece and then you thread your needle, and just like the marking pen, we're marking the intersection with the thread. And when you're done stitching, you just pull the thread out, and it'll come out even over the stitched areas. So it'll come right out because it's nice and slippery. It doesn't get caught, and it doesn't mark your fabric at all. It can be used on hand-dyed fabric. It can be used with hand-dyed thread. So super nice. This is really good stuff. I know some people actually save the thread and use it again. I don't know that I would do that. It comes on 100-yard spool, but it works great. It is available in red, so it's going to work with most fabrics that you use. And you can see I blocked out 10s, but again, you don't have to use it on all the fabric. You might just use it in a section where you need it. I'm going to show you in my next method how I do it and what I mean by where you need it. The last method I want to show you is the one I use most often, and that is to use some sort of marking pins or counting pins. These are called thread hoppers. They're by My Big Toe Designs. It's 2 needles connected with a thread and this nice little charm on the end. This one happens to be a bee. And the way you use these is you use the needles to mark your spot. So I'm not actually marking the fabric at all. I'm just using them to help me count. So for instance, because I use it a lot when I'm stitching over 2 because I have a hard time keeping count over 2. I find I'm off by 1 thread a lot. So I always put the needle in where the stitch is, the same part of the stitch. So in this case, the upper part of my X on the right-hand side. And then I use this needle to help me count over. I poke it in the holes and count over as many stitches as I need to. And then I put the needle in the top right of where my stitch would be. And then I can move this one. If I need to go further or if I need to go up, I can now do that by just continuing on. And then you put your needle again in the same spot. In this case for me, it's the upper right of my X. So that works out really well. There's all different kinds available. You don't have to use something like that necessarily. You can also use like these pins, long quilting pins that have this nice big needle, nice big ball on the end. You can use these exactly the same way. To count over, to mark, pin. A way I like to use these is, I've been stitching for so long that I can keep count. I don't have to use a marking pin a lot, but if you're like me, you're not just stitching. You're either watching a movie, watching TV, talking to someone else, or even if you're by yourself, not listening to anything, my mind wanders. So it's easy to lose count. So these little tools help me a lot. So if I'm doing a long stretch across here, and it's got to be 60 stitches, I'll often put the pins in at 10. So now I only have to remember 10. So I know that's 10, I do another 10, I put another pin in, now I know I'm at 20, and so on and so forth until I get to whatever point I needed to be at. So I'll use that a lot to help me, just simple little pins. I also use it when I have to, just like I was showing you with the thread hopper, if I have to go from here to somewhere way up here. Now, it's really hard to count that because it's over 2 threads. I'm counting twice as many. I know from my chart it needs to be 20 over and 6 up, but if I'm stitching over 2, that's 40 threads over and 12 up. So I can either count every other one, which I find hard to do, or I'll just go ahead and count the 40. So the marking pins help a lot. They get me to the right spot. I know I'm exactly where I need to be, and I can leave the pins. Some people use the pins to mark every 10 for a certain area. You can use them all kinds of different ways, whatever you find useful. The one little bonus tip I wanted to share here with you is if I am doing a long row of stitches and I want to keep count without using any tools, I'll often do just I'll do just half of the stitch. The Danish method, just go halfway across. And then when I get to 10, this is not my idea, by the way, I've seen other people do it. When I get to 10, I'll just do the full cross stitch, finish that off, and then I'll continue on doing just the one leg of my X. That way I can easily count the full X's and know that's 10. Make sense? It's just a simple little thing that doesn't require any tools, but it kind of helps you keep count. And that's generally where I need it, not in a section where, okay, I need to do 20 up. It's usually when I'm doing a long section or when I'm jumping. Those are my tips. I can't wait to hear what you do. So what do you think? I hope these tips were helpful, but if you have any tips you'd like to share with us, I would love to hear from you. Let us know in the comment section below. I do read and answer all of your comments and love to hear from you. While you're down there, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and I will see you again soon.